Evelyn Harper was having one of those days where everything seemed to go wrong, and she couldn't catch a break no matter how hard she tried. It was her first week in her new apartment, but instead of feeling excited about starting fresh, all she felt was exhaustion. Moving boxes were piled high in every corner, cluttering the space that was supposed to feel like home. The Wi-Fi router had arrived late, leaving her stranded without internet access for what felt like forever. And just when she thought things couldn't get worse, there was the bed frame. A sleek modern piece she'd ordered online with high hopes of finally getting a good night's sleep after days of restless unpacking. The problem? The delivery. Team said it wouldn't fit through her narrow doorway unless they disassembled it first. Frustrated and overwhelmed, Evelyn sighed deeply as she opened the door to let them in. But instead of the usual crew of 2 or 3 workers, only one man stood on her doorstep holding the massive box. His name tag read, Marcus, and he greeted her with a warm smile that instantly put her at ease. Marcus was tall and broad-shouldered, wearing the standard uniform of his delivery company, dark pants, a blue polo shirt, and sturdy work boots. Yet there was something different about him. Maybe it was the way he carried himself, calm and confident, or maybe it was the kindness in his eyes that softened his otherwise rugged appearance. Whatever it was, Evelyn found herself watching him closely as he stepped inside, effortlessly maneuvering the heavy package into her living room. "Don't worry," Marcus assured her with a reassuring grin. "I've dealt with tougher spots than this before. We'll have your bed set up in no time." His voice was smooth and steady, with just a hint of humor that made Evelyn relax a little. She nodded gratefully, stepping aside to give him space to work. As he began assembling the bed frame, Evelyn busied herself by tidying up the room, trying not to stare too obviously. Still, she couldn't help but notice how skilled he was. Every movement was precise, almost artistic, as if putting together. Furniture was second nature to him. The rain outside added to the cozy atmosphere, tapping gently against the windows, while Marcus worked silently. Occasionally, he'd glance up and make small talk, commenting on the weather or asking about her move. Evelyn answered politely, surprised by how easy it was to talk to him. There was an authenticity to Marcus that she didn't often encounter in people. He wasn't trying too hard to impress. He simply was who he was, and that simplicity intrigued her. By the time he finished, nearly an hour had passed, but Evelyn barely noticed. Watching him work had been oddly soothing, like watching someone solve a puzzle with effortless grace. When Marcus finally stood up, brushing his hands together, he looked at her with a satisfied smile. "All done," he announced. "Your bed's ready for a good night's sleep." Evelyn walked over to inspect his handiwork, running her fingers along the smooth edges of the frame. It was perfect, better than she'd imagined. Turning back to Marcus, she smiled genuinely for the first time that day. "Thank you so much, I really appreciate it. You saved me from sleeping on the floor tonight." Marcus chuckled softly, shaking his head. "No problem at all. That's what we're here for." He started gathering his tools, preparing to leave, but Evelyn hesitated. Something inside her stirred, an impulse she couldn't quite explain. Before she could stop herself, the words tumbled out of her mouth. "You. No, you're exactly my type." The room fell silent. Marcus froze mid-motion, his eyebrows lifting slightly in surprise. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Evelyn immediately regretted her blurted confession, heat rushing to her cheeks as embarrassment washed over her. What was wrong with her? Why had she said that? She barely knew this man, and yet here she was, making awkward declarations like some lovesick teenager. But then Marcus laughed. A deep, hearty laugh that filled the room and eased the tension. "Well, that's unexpected," he said, still smiling. "I don't think anyone's ever told me that during a delivery." Evelyn buried her face in her hands, mortified. "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to say that. It just came out." "It's okay," Marcus replied, amusement dancing in his eyes. "Honestly, it's kind of flattering." He paused for a moment, studying her expression. "So, does this mean I should expect flowers next time I deliver something?" Evelyn groaned, shaking her head. "Please pretend I didn't say anything." I promise I'm usually not this weird. I don't think you're weird, Marcus said sincerely. Just honest. And maybe a little spontaneous. He grabbed his clipboard and pen, scribbling his signature to confirm the delivery. Anyway, I should probably get going. But hey, if you ever need another delivery or another random compliment, you know where to find me. With that, he gave her a playful wink and headed toward the door. Evelyn watched him leave, her heart racing. She couldn't believe what had just happened. Had she really told a complete stranger that he was her type? And why did she feel a strange sense of excitement lingering in the air long after he was gone? As the sound of his truck faded into the distance, Evelyn sank onto her newly assembled bed, replaying the moment in her mind. It was ridiculous, absurd even, but somehow it also felt right. Little did she know, this chance encounter would mark the beginning of a story far more interesting than any she could have imagined. The moment Marcus stepped out of Evelyn's apartment, he couldn't shake the strange feeling that had settled in his chest. Sure, he'd been on countless deliveries before, meeting all sorts of people, exchanging pleasantries, and occasionally dealing with difficult customers. But this was different. This wasn't just another delivery, it wasn't just another customer. There was something about Evelyn that lingered in his mind long after he drove away, her words echoing faintly in his thoughts. You're exactly my type. At first, Marcus tried to brush it off as nothing more than a funny memory. After all, she probably hadn't meant anything serious by it. People said things they didn't mean all the time, especially when caught off guard or feeling awkward. But the more he thought about it, the harder it became to dismiss. Her tone had been genuine, almost vulnerable, and there was no mistaking the sincerity in her eyes when she said it. For someone who spent most of his days blending into the background, delivering packages, assembling furniture, and moving on to the next task, it was refreshing to feel noticed. Still, Marcus wasn't sure what to make of it. Was Evelyn just being friendly, or was there something deeper beneath her bold comment? He wrestled with these questions throughout the rest of his shift, replaying their brief conversation over and over again. By the time he got home that evening, he decided to take a risk. Using the receipt from her order, which included her name, he searched for her on social media. To his surprise, it didn't take long to find her profile. She had a small but active presence online, sharing photos of her artwork and snippets of her life. Scrolling through her posts, Marcus felt like he was getting a glimpse of who she really was, a creative, thoughtful woman with a quirky sense of humor. Taking a deep breath, he sent her a message. Hey, Evelyn. This is Marcus, your friendly neighborhood delivery guy. I think we got off on, well, an interesting foot. Hope you're settling into your new place, okay? He hit send before he could second-guess himself, then immediately regretted it. What if she thought he was weird for reaching out? What if she ignored him completely, but to his relief, she replied within minutes. Marcus. Oh wow, hi. Yeah, sorry again about earlier. I don't usually blurt things out like that. But hey, thanks for setting up my bed. How's your day going? Their conversation flowed naturally from there, each message revealing a little more about the other person. Evelyn admitted she'd been nervous during their encounter, worried she might have come across as too forward. Marcus confessed he'd been surprised but flattered by her honesty. They talked about everything under the sun, their jobs, their hobbies, even their favorite foods, and before they knew it, hours had passed. Over the next few days, their chats continued. At first, it was mostly casual banter, but soon they found themselves opening up in ways neither had expected. Evelyn told Marcus about her struggles with self-doubt, how she often felt like an imposter in her own life despite her talent as a graphic designer. Marcus shared stories about growing up in a tight-knit community, working multiple jobs to support his family, and juggling his dreams of starting his own business while keeping up with his studies. Their worlds were vastly different, yet somehow, they clicked. Eventually, Marcus suggested meeting up again, not for work this time, but just to hang out. I feel like I've learned so much about you already, he wrote. It'd be nice to actually see you face to face. Evelyn hesitated, for only a moment before agreeing. Truthfully, she'd been thinking the same thing. As much as she enjoyed their conversations online, there was something about Marcus's energy that made her want to know him better in person. They agreed to meet at a cozy cafe downtown, one Evelyn frequented whenever she needed inspiration for her designs. On the day of their meetup, nerves bubbled inside her as she waited at a corner table, sipping on a latte and scrolling through her phone to distract herself. When Marcus walked in, she recognized him instantly. He looked different out of his delivery uniform, in jeans and a casual hoodie. He seemed even more approachable than she remembered. "Hey, stranger," he greeted her with a warm smile, sliding into the seat across from her. "Sorry I'm late, traffic was brutal." "It's fine," Evelyn replied, laughing nervously. "I was early anyway." For the next hour, they talked nonstop, picking up right where they'd left off in their messages. The atmosphere between them was light and easy, filled with laughter and moments of genuine connection. Evelyn marveled at how comfortable she felt around him, as if they'd known each other for years instead of weeks. Marcus, too, was struck by how effortlessly they clicked. Despite their differences, they shared a mutual curiosity about the world and a desire to understand each other's perspectives. As the afternoon wore on, the topic of their initial meeting inevitably came up. "So," Marcus began, leaning back in his chair with a teasing grin, "do you always tell random delivery guys they're your type?" Evelyn groaned, burying her face in her hands. "Ugh, I can't believe I did that. Please tell me you didn't think I was crazy." "Crazy? No way," Marcus assured her. "Bold, maybe. Refreshingly honest? Definitely. But not crazy." She peeked at him through her fingers, her cheeks flushed. "Well, that's good to hear because honestly I'm still trying to figure out why I said it. Maybe it was fate or something." Marcus raised an eyebrow, amused. "Fate, huh? That's a big word for a delivery guy." "Hey, don't sell yourself short," Evelyn shot back playfully. "You're more than just a delivery guy, you know." Her words hung in the air for a moment, carrying a weight neither of them had anticipated. It was true. Marcus was more than his job, just as Evelyn was more than the quirky artist she presented herself to be. Beneath the surface, they were two people navigating life's challenges, searching for meaning and connection in a world that often felt chaotic and isolating. And in that moment, sitting across from each other in a quiet cafe, they both realized they might have stumbled upon something special. By the time they parted ways that evening, promising to stay in touch, neither could deny the spark that had ignited between them. It wasn't love, not yet anyway, but it was a start. A beginning born out of an awkward confession and a leap of faith, proving that sometimes the most unexpected encounters can lead to the most beautiful beginnings. As the days turned into weeks, Evelyn and Marcus found themselves growing closer with each passing conversation. Their meetings became a regular part of their routines, whether it was grabbing coffee at the same cafe where they'd first reunited, or taking long walks through the park on sunny afternoons. They talked about everything under the sun, their childhoods, their dreams for the future, their favorite books and movies, and even the little quirks that made them who they were. Evelyn loved how Marcus could turn any mundane topic into something fascinating, while Marcus admired Evelyn's ability to see beauty in the smallest details of life. But as much as they enjoyed each other's company, there were moments when reality crept in, reminding them of the differences between their worlds. One evening, during one of their late-night phone calls, Evelyn confessed that her friends had started asking questions about Marcus. "They're curious, I guess," she said hesitantly. "I mean, you're not exactly what they expected when I told them I was seeing someone." Marcus chuckled softly on the other end of the line. "Let me guess, they thought I'd be some corporate guy in a suit." "Something like that," Evelyn admitted, her voice tinged with guilt. "It's not that they don't like you, it's just, well, they don't know you yet. And sometimes, people have these preconceived ideas about who fits into whose life." Marcus understood what she meant, though it stung a little to hear it out loud. He'd faced similar judgments before, often from people who assumed he wasn't ambitious enough because of his job or skin color. Still, he appreciated Evelyn's honesty. "It's okay," he reassured her. "People will always have opinions, but what matters is how we feel about each other, right?" "Right," Evelyn agreed, though she couldn't help feeling uneasy. She hated the idea of anyone doubting Marcus, or worse, dismissing him based on superficial assumptions. It made her realize just how much work went into navigating relationships, especially ones that challenged societal norms. Despite these challenges, Evelyn and Marcus continued to build their connection, finding strength in their shared determination to make things work. One weekend, Marcus invited Evelyn to join him at a community event hosted by his church. It was a lively gathering, filled with music, food, and laughter, and Evelyn felt welcomed immediately. As they mingled with Marcus's friends and family, she began to understand more about the world he came from, a world rooted in resilience, faith, and unwavering support. "You fit right in here," Marcus teased as they sat together on a picnic blanket, watching kids play tag in the grass. Evelyn smiled, though she knew she still had a lot to learn. "I think I'm starting to get why this place means so much to you," she said thoughtfully. "Everyone seems so connected, like they really care about each other." "That's just how it is," Marcus replied. "Growing up, my mom always said that family isn't just blood. It's the people who show up for you when it counts." Evelyn nodded, touched by his words. In that moment, she realized how much Marcus valued loyalty and trust, qualities she deeply admired in him. Yet she also recognized that building trust took time, especially when two people came from such different backgrounds. Back in her own circle, Evelyn faced her own set of challenges. At a dinner party hosted by one of her close friends, she introduced Marcus to a group of colleagues and acquaintances. For the most part, everyone was polite, exchanging pleasantries and asking casual questions about his work. But then came a comment that stopped the conversation cold. "So, Marcus," one of Evelyn's co-workers said with a smirk, "you must be pretty smart to handle all those deliveries without getting lost." The room fell silent, the awkwardness palpable. Evelyn felt her stomach twist as she watched Marcus process the remark. To his credit, he didn't miss a beat. With a calm smile, he responded, "Actually, I've got a pretty good sense of direction, plus GPS helps." There was scattered laughter, but Evelyn could tell the comment had struck a nerve. Later that night, as they drove home, Marcus finally opened up about how exhausting it was to constantly deal with microaggressions like that. "It's not just that one guy," he explained. "It's the way people talk down to me, like I'm not capable of anything beyond delivering packages. Like I'm not worth knowing unless I fit into their box of expectations." Evelyn listened intently, her heart breaking for him. She reached over and placed a hand on his arm. "I'm so sorry you have to deal with that. You shouldn't have to prove yourself to anyone. You're amazing exactly as you are." Her words brought a small smile to his face, but the weight of the evening lingered between them. Evelyn knew she couldn't shield Marcus from every ignorant remark or dismissive glance, but she vowed to stand by him no matter what. From that day forward, she promised herself she would speak up whenever she witnessed unfair treatment, not just for Marcus, but for anyone facing similar biases. Their bond deepened as they continued to navigate these challenges together. One particularly memorable evening, they stayed up late talking about their hopes for the future. Marcus shared his dream of launching his own logistics company, explaining how he wanted to create opportunities for others in underserved communities. Evelyn listened with admiration, inspired by his vision and determination. "I want to help." "You with that?" she blurted out suddenly, surprising even herself. Marcus raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I can design your logo, branding materials, all of it," she said excitedly. "You've got the drive and the plan, and I've got the creativity. Together we could make it happen." For a moment, Marcus just stared at her, overwhelmed by her offer. Then slowly a wide grin spread across his face. "Are you serious? That would be incredible." "Of course I'm serious," Evelyn replied, her eyes shining with excitement. "This is your dream, Marcus, and if there's anything I've learned from being with you, it's that dreams are worth fighting for." That night, as they sat side by side sketching out ideas for Marcus's business, Evelyn felt a profound sense of purpose. This wasn't just about helping Marcus achieve his goals. It was about proving to themselves and to the world that love, partnership, and collaboration could transcend boundaries. By the time dawn broke, They had pages of notes and rough drafts scattered across the table. Exhausted but exhilarated, they collapsed onto the couch, laughing at the whirlwind of creativity they'd unleashed. "You know," Marcus said, pulling Evelyn close, "I never imagined I'd meet someone like you, someone who sees me, not just as a delivery guy or a black man, but as me. And I never imagined I'd say something as ridiculous as 'you're my type' to a stranger," Evelyn joked, resting her head on his shoulder. "But here we are." They both laughed, the sound filling the quiet morning air. Despite the obstacles they'd faced and the ones they knew were still ahead, they felt ready to tackle whatever came their way. Because in each other, they had found not just love, but a partner who believed in their potential and stood firmly by their side, and that they realized was worth every challenge they'd overcome along the way. As Evelyn and Marcus's relationship deepened, they found themselves navigating a delicate balance between their growing bond and the external pressures that came with it. While they were determined to make things work, the world around them wasn't always as supportive. Friends, family, and even strangers seemed intent on reminding them of the differences that existed between them. Differences rooted in race, class, and life experiences. But through it all, Evelyn and Marcus held on to one truth: love was worth fighting for. One evening, Evelyn invited Marcus over for dinner at her apartment. It wasn't just any dinner. It was a chance for him to meet her mother, Patricia, who had been curious about this man who had captured her daughter's heart. Evelyn had spent days preparing, both mentally and physically. She cleaned her apartment until it sparkled, cooked her mom's favorite dishes, and rehearsed what she would say to ease the inevitable tension. Still, as she opened the door and greeted her mother, her nerves bubbled beneath the surface. Patricia was polite when Marcus arrived, offering him a warm smile and shaking his hand firmly. "It's nice to finally meet you," she said, though her tone carried an edge of caution. "The pleasure is mine, Mrs. Harper," Marcus replied, his voice calm and respectful. Dinner started off smoothly enough. They chatted about safe topics, like the weather, Evelyn's recent projects, and Marcus's studies. But as dessert was served, Patricia broached a subject that made Evelyn's stomach tighten. "So, Marcus," Patricia began, dabbing her mouth with a napkin, "what exactly are your plans for the future?" Marcus didn't flinch. He'd anticipated questions like this and answered confidently. "I'm working towards starting my own logistics company. I've been doing research, networking, and saving up. It's a big step, but I believe in the vision." Patricia nodded slowly, her expression unreadable. "That sounds ambitious, but running a business isn't easy, especially without financial backing. Have you considered the risks involved?" Evelyn jumped in before Marcus could respond. "Mom, Marcus has everything under control. He's smart, driven, and knows exactly what he's doing." "I'm sure he does," Patricia replied, her tone softening slightly. "But relationships aren't just about ambition, sweetheart. They're also about compatibility. Are you two sure you understand each other's worlds?" The question hung in the air, heavy and loaded. Evelyn felt a surge of frustration, but Marcus placed a reassuring hand on hers under the table. "Mrs. Harper," he said gently, "I won't pretend that Evelyn and I come from the same background, but we've worked hard to understand each other, to see past the labels and focus on what truly matters. We may have different experiences, but our values align, and that's what makes us strong together." Patricia studied him for a moment, then sighed. "I hope you're right, Marcus. My daughter means the world to me, and I only want the best for her." "And so do I," Marcus replied sincerely. When Patricia left later that night, Evelyn collapsed onto the couch, exhausted. "I'm sorry about that," she muttered, rubbing her temples. "She means well, but sometimes she can be intense." "It's okay," Marcus assured her. "Your mom loves you, and she's just looking out for you." "I get it, but it's not fair," Evelyn insisted, her voice rising slightly. "Why does everyone feel the need to question us? Why can't they just trust that we know what we're doing?" Marcus pulled her close, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "Because change scares people. Loving someone outside their comfort. Zone forces them to confront their own biases. It's not easy for them or for us, but we can't let their doubts define us. What matters is how we feel about each other. Evelyn leaned into him, finding solace in his words. She knew he was right, but it didn't make the weight of judgment any lighter. Meanwhile, Marcus faced his own set of challenges within his circle. At first, his friends teased him good-naturedly about dating a woman like Evelyn. "Man, you really upgraded, huh?" one of them joked during a game night. Marcus forced a laugh, though the comment stung. "Come on, guys. She's not some trophy. She's a person just like anyone else. Relax, we're just messing with you," another friend chimed in. "But seriously, how long do you think this will last? You know rich white girls don't usually stick around." The room fell silent, the mood shifting instantly. Marcus clenched his jaw, struggling to keep his composure. First of all, Evelyn isn't rich. She works hard for everything she has. And second, stop acting like her race defines who she is. She's kind, talented, and supportive. And if you actually took the time to get to know her, you'd see that too. His friends exchanged uneasy glances, realizing they'd crossed a line. One of them raised his hands defensively. All right. Point taken. We're just looking out for you, man." "Well, don't," Marcus shot back, his voice firm. "I appreciate your concern, but Evelyn and I are building something real. If you can't respect that, then maybe we shouldn't hang out anymore." The threat hung in the air, unspoken, but understood. From that day forward, his friends treaded more carefully, though Marcus could still sense their skepticism. Despite the outside noise, Evelyn and Marcus continued to strengthen their connection. They leaned on each other during tough times, finding comfort in their shared determination to rise above societal expectations. One pivotal moment came when Evelyn attended a family reunion, where whispers about Marcus followed her everywhere she went. "Is he serious about you?" a distant cousin asked pointedly during a quiet moment. "Or is this just some phase?" Evelyn bristled, biting back an angry retort. Instead, she smiled sweetly and said, "Marcus is one of the most genuine people I've ever met. He supports me, respects me, and challenges me to be better. If that's a phase, then I hope it lasts forever." Her cousin blinked, clearly taken aback by her response. "Wow, guess you really mean it." "I do," Evelyn replied, her voice steady. By standing up for Marcus even when it was uncomfortable, Evelyn proved her commitment to their relationship, and Marcus, in turn, showed his devotion by being patient and understanding, knowing that change wouldn't happen overnight. Their resilience paid off in unexpected ways. One evening, while walking through the park, Evelyn spotted a flyer advertising a local art exhibit. On impulse, she suggested they check it out together. The gallery was small but vibrant, showcasing works from emerging artists. As they wandered through the space, Evelyn noticed Marcus lingering in front of a painting, a striking piece depicting a young boy surrounded by towering skyscrapers. "What do you think?" she asked curiously. "It reminds me of growing up," Marcus admitted softly. "Feeling small in a big city, trying to find my place, but there's hope in it too, you know? Like no matter how tall those buildings are, the sky is still higher." Evelyn stared at him, moved by his insight. In that moment, she realized how much Marcus had taught her, not just about perseverance, but about seeing beauty in struggle. "You inspire me," she whispered, squeezing his hand. "And you inspire me," he replied, his eyes shining. Together, they walked out of the gallery hand in hand, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Because in each other, they had found not just love, but a partner who believed in their potential and stood firmly by their side. And that, they realized, was worth every challenge they'd overcome along the way. Months had passed since Evelyn and Marcus first crossed paths on that rainy afternoon, and their lives had intertwined in ways neither of them could have predicted. What began as an awkward confession during a furniture delivery had blossomed into something far deeper, a partnership built on trust, respect, and mutual admiration. They weren't just two people navigating the complexities of love. They were allies, cheerleaders, and confidants for one another. And as their relationship grew stronger, so did their individual dreams. Marcus's vision of starting his own logistics company was no longer just a distant goal, it was becoming a reality. With Evelyn's help designing the branding materials, he poured every ounce of energy into turning his dream into something tangible. Late nights became a shared ritual for them, with Evelyn sketching logos at the kitchen table while Marcus crunched numbers and drafted business plans. Together they created a brand identity that reflected Marcus's values: reliability, innovation, and community empowerment. "You know," Evelyn said one evening as she held up her latest design, "this logo feels like you. Strong but approachable." Marcus grinned, leaning over to inspect her work. "You're amazing, you know that? I couldn't have done this without you." "It's not about me," Evelyn replied, nudging him playfully. "It's about your hard work paying off. You've earned this moment." Finally, the day arrived when Marcus launched his company, Journey Logistics. It wasn't just a name. It symbolized the path he'd taken to get there, the obstacles he'd overcome, the lessons he'd learned, and the people who had supported him along the way. The grand opening event was held at a small venue downtown, filled with friends, family, and potential clients. Evelyn stood by Marcus's side throughout the evening, her heart swelling with pride as she watched him greet guests and share his story with confidence. "I never thought I'd see myself here," Marcus admitted later that night, once the crowd had thinned out. He and Evelyn sat together on a bench outside the venue, gazing up at the stars. "Why not?" Evelyn asked gently. "Because for so long I let other people tell me what I was capable of," Marcus explained. "But meeting, you reminded me that I don't have to live inside someone else's box. You believed in me when even I doubted myself sometimes." Evelyn smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "That's because you inspire belief. Anyone who spends 5 minutes with you can see how much you care, not just about your goals, but about making a difference in the world." As Marcus's business began to gain traction, Evelyn found herself inspired to chase her own ambitions. For years, she'd been content freelancing as a graphic designer, taking on projects here and there without ever fully committing to pursuing bigger opportunities. But seeing Marcus pour his heart into Journey Logistics reignited her passion for her craft. She decided to take a leap of faith and apply for a position at a prestigious design agency, one she'd always admired but never thought she was good enough for. When the acceptance letter arrived in her inbox, Evelyn screamed with excitement before running to show Marcus. "I got it," she exclaimed, waving her phone triumphantly. "That's incredible," Marcus cheered, pulling her into a tight hug. "Wait until we celebrate tonight. Dinner's on me." Their celebrations became a regular occurrence, each milestone marking another step forward in their journey together. Whether it was Marcus landing his first major client or Evelyn presenting her designs at a high-profile conference, they celebrated not just as individuals, but as a team. Their successes weren't separate achievements, they were shared victories, proof that supporting each other only amplified their strengths. Of course, life wasn't without its challenges. There were still moments when the world tried to remind them of their differences. A rude comment from a stranger, an uninvited opinion from a relative, even subtle biases that lingered in professional settings. But instead of letting these moments divide them, Evelyn and Marcus used them as fuel to strengthen their bond. One particularly memorable incident occurred during a networking event for Marcus's business. A potential investor cornered Evelyn and asked point blank if she was sure about dating someone like Marcus. The question caught her off guard, but she responded with calm conviction. "Absolutely," she said, locking eyes with the man. "Marcus is one of the most intelligent, compassionate, and driven people I've ever met. If anything, I'm the lucky one." The investor blinked, clearly surprised by her response. "Well, I suppose that settles it," he muttered before walking away. Later, Marcus found Evelyn and pulled her aside. "What was that all about?" he asked, concern etched on his face. "Oh, nothing important," Evelyn replied with a dismissive wave. "Just someone reminding me how lucky I am to have you." Marcus chuckled, shaking his head. "You handled it perfectly. Thank you. For standing up for us. For believing in us. Even when it's hard." "That's what partners do," Evelyn said simply, We fight battles together, remember? As time went on, Evelyn and Marcus realized that their love wasn't defined by labels or societal expectations. It was rooted in something far greater, an unwavering commitment to seeing each other for who they truly were. They didn't try to change each other. Instead, they embraced their differences, using them as bridges rather than barriers. Their connection deepened in the quiet, everyday moments too, the kind that often go unnoticed but mean everything. Like cooking dinner together after a long day, dancing in the living room to old-school R&B songs, or sitting in comfortable silence while working on their respective projects. These small acts of intimacy were what made their relationship feel real, grounded, and enduring. Eventually, the question everyone seemed to ask came up again. How did you two meet? At first, Evelyn would blush and laugh nervously, unsure of how to explain the unusual circumstances. But over time, she grew more confident in telling their story. It all started with a delivery, she'd say with a mischievous grin. He brought me a bed and ended up changing my life. Marcus loved hearing her recount their beginning, especially the part where she declared he was exactly her type. See, I told you fate had a sense of humor, he'd tease, pulling her close, and maybe fate did. After all, it wasn't every day that a random encounter turned into a love story, one that challenged norms, defied odds, and proved that sometimes the most unexpected beginnings lead to the most extraordinary journeys. As they stood side by side at Marcus's second-year anniversary celebration for Journey Logistics, surrounded by laughter and applause, Evelyn leaned over and whispered, "We've come a long way, haven't we?" "We sure have," Marcus replied, kissing her forehead. "But the best part is we're just getting started." Together, hand in hand, they looked toward the future, not as two separate individuals, but as one unstoppable force. Because, in the end, their love wasn't just about surviving the challenges, it was about thriving despite them. And that made